Hello, welcome back to Gordon's channel, and today we will learn how to build a filter feature. And first of all, we will build a user input area and to read the user input, and then we will store it in the data JSON format, and then we will build a filter option so user can choose the filter. So let's start. First of all, we will create a HTML page. Okay, and then we will create different sessions. Okay. Let's make it header, footer. Okay. All right. Now let's create the style sheets and the JavaScript file, and then let's link them to our file. Yeah, the filter.css, and then we have the grid, and then we have the src, the filter.js. Okay, and now let's add some basic background color, my favorite color, and then some color. Okay, and then let's add the header and the footer style. And then let's say we have the input option here. Input session. Okay, so now we have an input session. Now we can add so now we can add the filter session. We can style it, for example, with a background color. Let's say a very light gray color, and then let's give it some padding. Okay, it's too large. Okay. All right, and then let's give it some border radius. All right, and then let's give it some okay, let's say for example this is what we want the user to input. Okay, and then we have a button. All right, now we have input session, and for the shape we have an input element, which is for the color we have an input element. Okay, yeah, great. And then for the button we have an add item. Okay, so now we have a basic input session. So let's work on how to let's move this button to the right first. So it can be, we can do it like this. Can add a name to it, input session, add a class name, and each element can have multiple class names. So now this is input session, and then the button inside input session. So now let's make it let's make this P. The last P, the last paragraph, and I want it to align the button to the right. So now this is aligned to the right. So and now let's create a function. Oh, no, so now I'm taking advantage of the hoisting of the function keyword. So let's add the listener. Add listener. And in as listener, we will want to add the listener to the document.qe selector. Okay, so now let's see. For example, if we want to style the button a little bit, so now it is behaving like this. Let's add some styling to it. Input section, the button inside input section, and then we want its background color to be, let's say, DDD. Okay, so now it has a light gray background color, and then when we hover on the button, we use a pseudo element called hover, and I want it to go deeper than the background CCC. So let's use BBB, which is slightly deeper. Okay, this is very subtle, but this is very sharp change. We don't want it to change instantly. So let's add a transition background color. So now we want it to change, have a transition. When we hover it, it transforms to it. If it is too quick, we add some time to it. So 400 milliseconds. When we hover it, it changes color. When it lift, it changes color slightly, gradually. So this is the selector for the button. So let's copy this CSS selector and put inside a quotation mark inside the query selector. So this will let us add the select the button, and now we can use the add event listener. So now I want to add the event listener. I want to add the click event, and I want to listen to a function called onClick, and it is false. Okay, let's don't call it onClick. Let's add a meaningful event, add item. Alright. So if we call it add item, and now we can see that there should be a console error because we have not defined the function yet. So if we go to console, it said add item is not defined. So we should define add item. Add item. The function add item will be, okay. So it will be let me see, add the item. So now I should first have a variable and array. For array, we can use constant because when we change the items inside, it doesn't affect this variable. So we can use constant for array. So now for this items array, I want to push a new item to the back, and it is an object. And this object consists of two key. First is shape, second is color. So now I want to get the element from this and from this. So here, let us use this query selector. This is the nth child second. The second P and the input element inside and the value. Okay. And here, this is the get the element, the third P paragraph, the input element, and the value. It is not value, it is just value. Okay, just value. So now let us add the console log the items. Let's log it in console so we can see. For example, let's inspect. Okay, let's add more tools, the available tools, and now uncaught statement, unexpected statement at JS line 20. So here, okay, so now here, because this is an object, so I shouldn't use semicolon, I should use just a comma. Okay, So now this is add correctly. So let's make it smaller. So now, for example, I have a rectangle and I have a black color. When I add item, it will display the rectangle black color. And if I add a second item, say circle and green color, then it will add the display rectangle black, circle green. So this is how to add items to an array. So now we want to display it. So we will go to the session. We will go to create a display session. Display session. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now we are using this query selector repeatedly. So let's make it a shorter form. So we can define a shorter form. For example, the $sign, which is just to imitate the jQuery library. So if we have a $sign and then assign it using the arrow function, so now we have the query string, and then it will return document.query selector, query string. Yeah. So now we have defined this $sign to be document.query selector, and then we can save this to just one $sign. So it will clean up our code. $sign. Okay, let's test it after and see whether we have done it correctly. For example, circle red. Yeah, it's working correctly. So we can use a simple function name to simplify our code. And then let's remove this console log because we have tested already. And now let's focus on creating a display session. So now we have that display session, and we want it to be also have this format. So let's also add the class name display session for it. Okay, close the quotation mark, and now we see that it has copied the frame. So let's add a border to the header. Let's add a border. So for all filter session, for all the first paragraph, I want the font weight to be bold. Okay, so now every font weight is bold. For the header, I also want it to be bold. So, but I can use a simple thing. For example, H3, and here I click open the H3. Okay, so now this will make this a header with the bold because it is H3, and this bold because I use the first child pseudo element and the font weight property. So now, and we want here to be a gap, some spacing between different sessions, so we can add to the filter session. So I can add a margin top. So let's say half font size. Okay, half font size. So now there is a gap between, and now I want to display the content here. So let's add a paragraph and then a pre-format. So now we want to get this. So let's add a display section. Okay, data section. Let's call it data section. Okay. So now we want to get the data section, the pre-element inside data section, and display it. So now let's do it here. Dot add the dot data section. This is a class, so I use the dot, and then the pre inside data section, and I want its inner text equals. If I just assign the name here, it will becomes object. So let's try it. So for example, if I type something here, you see this is object because for object, when it's stringify, it becomes object. So we need to use a function called json.stringify, and then we stringify the items. And now we can see the content, but this is not format. So if we want it to be format, we can use a null selector and a indentation spacing. So now let's say if I have a circle of blue color, and then if I have a square of blue color, then it is formatted because this is the formatting string. And now because it is okay, so now because it is not a good habit to put different function inside one function, so let's create a new function called update display. Let's take it out, so let's call it update display and copy this here, okay. And now we should have a function which do both the add item and the update display. So this one should be on click. When the button is clicked, then we will do first thing is add item, execute it with paraphrase, and then the second thing is to update the display, so execute with the paraphrase. And now we want this on click function, capital camel case, the C is capital, so we want to add this to the callback, so let's call this on click. Okay, so now if I type something here, anything, it is add. If I type something else, it is also add. If I don't want this to stay here, if every time I want this to be cleared, then I need to add a function called clear input. Okay, so clear input will do function clear input. It should read this to input box and set their value to be empty string. Okay, now this one should be empty string, and this one should be empty string. Okay, so let's try it. If I input something, add item, now it is add and the input box is cleared because I have add a method called clear input where I will get this two input box and set their value to empty string. So this will clear my input box. And now let's talk about how to create the filter feature, which is the focus of this video. So first of all, I want to add a new session. Now this is the new session, and I want to call this filter session. Okay, filter session. Now the format hasn't come out because I need to add the class name. Okay, the class name is filter session. This is for the formatting. Okay, so this is the filter session, and now I want to add a select element inside the filter session. Select. So now we have a select element, and now when we input something, I want this to be updated automatically. I don't want to hard code it. I want to create a filter option based on user input. So let's do it. Now we go to the update select option. Update select. We create the update select, and then for the first of all we select this select option. So I use the class name method, the query selector. So this is the filter session. Okay, this class name is for the JavaScript to query select element. Creating. Okay, dot filter session, and then the select element inside filter session, and then I want to add the child, append a child, which is an option. So now we will need to create an node, create an element. I want to create an element called option. Okay, so if I type something here, type something more. Okay, we have not attached it to here yet. So let's attach it to the on click. We need to do it before this. Update select. Okay, and now I want to add the create element. So let's use another way instead of the append child. So if I use append child, I need to first create the element, option element, document.create element. Okay, document create option, and then now the option.inner text, option element.inner text, I want it to be the color value, for example. So here, let's add the filter option. For example, filter by color. So now I will choose the second input box. I choose its value. Okay. So now I want is in the text to be this value, and then I append child this option element. Okay. So now if I input something, for example, circle, red. See, I have the option add, and if I have a rectangle, blue, and I add item, you see I have a new option, blue. So this is one of the way to add the option, and there is another way actually. So let's say, for example, I comment this out. I use Control slash comment it out, and now the other way is to use this select element, and then is innerHTML. So here I use the template literal, option, and the value is I use the $sign brackets, and then the value is this one, second input box value. So this is another way. So let me show you. For example, I have a square of blue color of no color. For example, add item. You see I add the color here, and if I have a second shape, for example, trapezium of a lime color, then when I add item, it will create a new option line. You see. So okay, now this is replacing the previous one because we use the equal sign. So this is replacing. So we need to use the plus sign, plus equal. So now let's debug it again. For example, if I have shape one, color one, item, we have color one, shape two, color two, item, we have color two options. You see. So this is how to use the template editor with the plus equal sign. And now both way works, the create element way and the inner text way, both way works. And for this one, you add the inner text and you add the class one by one, so this is more clear. And this one is you can format it like using the HTML. So this one is, also has its advantage. If you have a large nested tree here, if you have nested element into many level, then it is better to use this template literal way. But if you only have one level of the element, then this create element and then append child way is more clear. So it depends on which situation we are at. So now we have implement the filter, adding the filter option. So now let's focus on when we click on the filter option, how can we sort the display. So now we need to add another listener here. So now we want to get the select element which is in the filter section, and select element. I want to select this element and add the event listener on this one. Okay. Now I'm using different lines because I want to be more clear, but when we actually code, we don't need to separate that line. It can be on the one line. So I want to listen to the change element, change event, and then the function name, let's call it on change, and the button is false. And let's program this on change function on change. Okay. So now when we change the change it, I want to create. First of all, we need to read its value, which is select the value. Okay, so for example, if I console log it dot value. Okay, let's take it for the example first. If I have shape 1, color 1, add item, shape 2, color 2, add item, and then if I choose color 2, I can lock color 2. If I choose color 1, I can lock color 1. So this is one of the how to use the select element. If I have some options here, you see I have options here, and I don't have the value attribute on options, then its inner text is attribute, is value. But if this inner text and then this has a value here, so this value attribute will override. So this inner text will not be the value. So this is one of the way to use the select element. And now let's sort this one. So I want to display this one. I check the update display. So this is our display box, the P inside the data section, and I want to set its inner text to, okay, and it should be an array. So I want to use JSON, this one, JSON, and then here this one is no longer items, but I want to filter it. So filter, I want to use the ES6 filter. And now because I want to be clearer, so I use the separate line. First of all, it read the item, which is an object, and then it filter based on the condition when the item dot color is equals to a value. So this is the element and the select element's value. So when it is equals to the color item, color value of the object, then it will be sorted. So let's try. For example, shape 1, color 1, shape 2, shape 2, color 2. Let's say if I have shape 1, shape 2, if I choose, okay, let me shrink it a little bit. If I choose color 2, it will filter color 2. If I choose color 1, it will filter color 1. So this is how to create a filter. So if I filter it, see it is filtered. And now let's say I want, okay, now I want to improve this. You see, because this one is basically the same as the update display. So how can we make this more succinct? So it is very easy, isn't it? So the only change is this one. So let's make this one an argument to the function. So let's add an argument to the update display. Let's call it item argument. So this one, it will display the item arguments, items argument. And this, when you call it, you need to pass the parameter to it. Now let's pass the items, the global items to it. And here instead of hardcoding it, let's don't hardcode it. And now let's just simply call the update display function. And now I input this filtered array. Okay, so I will input this one. So you see, let's uncomment. Okay, now I will use the update display because it already has this data section pre.innerText and this JSON.stringify, and I only need to pass the argument to it, which is and filtered items based on its color value. So let's try whether it works. First of all, let's input sample data. For example, circle red, rectangle blue, and let me add one more, say square red. Okay, so we can see the filter result. So now I have three items in our data. Shape is circle red, rectangle blue, and square red. So if we filter by blue, you see it is filtered by blue. If we filter by red, it is filtered by red. So you see, so this is how to use the filter option. And now we need to do some other fine tuning. For example, you see here it is having two red options, which is not what we want. So let's when in the add option update select here, let's check if it already contains this value, then we don't add it. So let's do it in another way. First of all, let's create a new array, for example. Okay, let's use the map option. So for every item, I get its items.color. Okay, so let's console log this. For example, if I have the shaped one red, shaped 2 blue, shaped 3 red. Okay, and now we have, you see, we have the red, blue, red. Let me make it larger. Red, blue, red, which is we have 3 colors now. And if I want to make it a remove the duplicate, we can convert it into a set. So let's call new set equals to new set. So I convert the array into a set, and now let's console log our new set. So for example, 1 red, 2 blue. See, now I have red, blue, red, blue. But if I have 3 and then red, you see the array is red, blue, red. But when I convert it into the set, it will be red, blue. So this is how to do this. So now let's create the option based on this. So now let's first of all, okay, make it a blank. So now for the select option, it will have no element, no option, and then let's add it one by one. So now for okay, color in new set. Okay, and then we will for in loop, and then we will add the copy this inside. Okay, but this one I don't get the value here. Instead, I use the color inside the set. Okay, so let's try it. For example, if I have shape 1 red, add item, shape 2 blue, add item. Now okay, let me see. Okay, this is not working. For off loop, shape 1 add item red. Okay, for off loop, and then shape 2 red, color blue. Now we have red, blue. But if I have shape 3 and it is also red color, then it will not add a second red, because we are creating this select option list based on this set, and set will clear all the duplicates for us. So this is how to clear the duplicate. And now, for example, if I use this filter option, see, if I use this filter option, and if I have, say, choose blue, I can filter blue, and if I choose red, I can filter red, but I don't have an option to choose back. So let's add it. So at the beginning, let's add an option called any color. Okay, and here, because we are re-rendering the menu, so let's also add a render color here. So let's add it. So let's call it any color. Okay. Okay, you see, if we use the quotation mark, we cannot do it with multiple lines. So it must be this sign. Okay. So now I don't need to, because this is not JavaScript. I want to create a text. So this is any color. You see. Now at the beginning, okay, this is not here. It should be any, okay, option any color. Okay. Okay, let's format it better. So this P follow this one. This select here is child of p and option is child of select. So we need to indent our code properly to increase the readability. So now we have any color, and if we add one color, we still have the any color. If I add another color, we still have the any color. And now we want to make this color effect, any color effect. So let's go to the filter option. Let's go to on change. And now, instead of doing this, we will need to do a checking. If the value is any color, if the value is any color, then we will filter it. So we will update display. We don't need to filter anything. So we will update display based on all the items. But if we do it here, we don't need to use a bracket because this is single line. But if we want to escape this one after this one, and we don't want to use else, then we can use return, because when we return, then we quit this function, so this block will not be run if this is true. So let's try it. So if I have shape 1 color 1, and then shape 2 color 1, and shape 3 color 1, let's say, okay, shape 1 color 1, 2 1, 3 1, or let's say 2 2, 4 2. Okay, if I have different colors and I choose filter and I filter, see, now I have filter, and if I go back to any color, then all will be displayed, because when this one is true, when the select option value is any color, then it will update the display with the whole array, and it will return, so it will escape this function. So this is how to do the any color. So let me see what else I can add. Not much. Okay, so this is basically how to create a filter option with the user input, and create a select element based on the data user input. So I hope you enjoy this video, and if you like my video, please subscribe to my channel, and please feel free to leave a comment so I can know whether you like my video or not like my video. And thank you. See you in my next video. Bye bye.